Welcome to Problem Solved, the podcast where me and a special co-host solve all your problems really easily, probably.
Problems? Are you kidding me? I don't have any problems. Okay, I might have a few, but I can work on them with you. Come on.
Hello and welcome to Problem Solved. I'm Jeff Gunther, licensed professional counselor. Today is my favorite format where a caller calls in and I talk to them with a co-therapist. We give them some advice. They go do that advice and they come back and tell us how wonderful or not so wonderful the advice is. No big deal. And you know the caller that calls in today. I'm so happy that you already know him. His name is Chris Gethard. He is a comedian. He is an actor. He was the host of the Chris Gethard show a little while ago. Keep that in mind because we talk about that further into the episode. He also hosts a podcast called Beautiful Anonymous, Beautiful Stories from Anonymous People. It's a really good podcast. You should go listen to that. And my co-therapist, his name is Marlon Morgan. He has a podcast. I was on his podcast. I'll link to it in the show notes. He runs Wellness Together. It's an organization, a nonprofit. And he also runs Laughing Together, which Chris Gethard runs. So Marlon is the boss of Chris. Just keep all this in mind. There's some, as the therapists call it, some dual relationships going on here. There's friendships, but we're giving advice. It's a little messy, but I think you'll enjoy it because it's a very relatable problem, or at least it starts out that way. Or Chris is like, hey, I want to stop eating all these bagels. And we're like, cool, let's figure this out together. And then, as you can imagine, it goes into much deeper things that are connected to everything. You're going to really like this. I think that even if you don't like it, you should still give me a 5-star review. Can you do that right now, real quick? Just open the podcast app that you're listening to, give 5 stars. It'll make me so happy. I'm going to get out of the way so that you can listen to this episode and then message me about how life-changing it was, because that's what I predict you're going to do. Okay, here we go. This is a podcast where we explore the intricate world of relationships and navigate the complexity of mental health together. I am Jeff Gunther, a licensed therapist, but in this space, I'm your host, not your personal therapist or the therapist for our guests. This show offers a platform for open conversations about relationship and mental health challenges, providing insights and perspectives for educational and entertainment purposes only. It's crucial to remember that our discussions do not replace professional therapy or constitute a therapist-client relationship between myself, our callers, or you, our listeners. If you're dealing with personal struggles or seeking support, I urge you to consult with a qualified professional who can provide the personalized care you deserve. Thank you for being here. Let's dive in. Marlon, welcome to Problem Solved. We are buddies. I was actually on your podcast a little while ago. Can you tell people the name of your podcast and introduce yourself a little bit to the audience?
I sure can. Jeff, it was great having you on This Helps. It's This Helps podcast, and we interview and talk with the world's leading helpers and ask them what helps them and how they're helping other people. And it generally turns out to be pretty fun and interesting. You were a great guest, hilarious. We had a lot of what I would consider prime 90s references. And so if anyone wants to hear that, that's episode 5 of This Helps podcast, and it's available anywhere podcasts are listened to.
Yeah, I put a little video clip of that podcast on my stories, and my girlfriend saw it, and she was like, that is the most genuine, lovely laugh I've ever seen you laugh. And I had a really good time on your show. So
same. I was like, I don't want to weird this guy out, but I was like, I almost said hey, do you want to hang out with us the rest of South by? But I knew you had other stuff to do. So
yeah, I wish I could have. Yeah, I'm sure we'll find plenty more times to hang out. And you're also a therapist. How long have you been a therapist?
I have been a therapist since 2014, and okay. I don't have much of a private practice anymore. I run a nonprofit that provides mental health services in schools throughout California and New York and a few other places now, and that's been really cool and rewarding. So it's great to be asked to come and play a therapist, sort of, with
right.
you, and so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and we're going to have your good buddy Chris Gethard. He's going to
Mm-hmm.
be our guest and our caller. He's actually just a little preview. He's going to be talking about something that I think is like pretty relatable, which is like his relationship with food and the issues that he has around that. Is that something that you've talked about with clients in the past, or that you counsel people on?
Yes. When I've talked to clients about that, I've sort of been a little heavier my whole life. So it feels a little bit like kind of like if you go to the gym and you see a personal trainer and they're not as fit as the person they're training.
Mm-hmm.
That's the vibe. So I tend to just be honest, validate, talk about, some helpful self-disclosure of my own
Mm-hmm.
issues I've had over the years, being a football player for, 5 or 6 years early on in life, and then trying to eat like a football player as a 44-year-old. It really doesn't go together. So
Yeah.
not anymore anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah. I can't wait to talk to Chris, and it's hard because I think he weighs 100 pounds less than me, but I'll try to be kind and normalize it.
Good. I mean, you don't have to be kind. Like you said, this isn't like actual therapy, and you two are buddies. If this was, so like in real therapy, we're not allowed to be therapists for people that we know. It's called like a dual relationship, right?
Mm-hmm. Familiar.
Yeah. So that's like even more why this isn't actually therapy. But it is kind of funny, the position that you're in, sort of like giving him advice to like, to someone someone you're friendly with and work with, right?
Yeah, we work together, and he actually runs a whole division of our company called Laughing Together, and he
Mm-hmm.
brings some excellent comedians, including himself. It's always funny to me to think of Chris Gethard going to some random school in the Bronx or in Brooklyn, and nobody there. I don't think a lot of people there are appreciating that they're dealing with one of the world's best comedians. But he goes and he teaches a lot of great skills for connecting with other people, and he sort of does it in the format of improv. And so by teaching those improv skills, he helps people connect together and actually improve their mental health, because they're now less anxious about connecting, kind of get rid of some of that social anxiety. He does it with a lot of teachers, and he does it with a lot of students now. And it's been really, really cool to see. And sometimes he brings other people with him to schools that are also great comedians. And that's really been cool to see him do that.
Yeah, he's really just like an all-around really good guy, and I'm excited that he's here and he's going to share with us.
Totally, 100%. Very excited.
All right, let's get to it. Hello, Gethard and Marlon. This is Problem Solved. How are you two doing?
I'm okay. I'm all right.
Doing
Yeah?
great. Excited to be here, to see you again.
Yeah.
A little weirdly nervous about this, but I think it'll be fine.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about where those nerves are coming from before we jump in?
Well, I've done a lot of therapy in my life.
Yeah.
Starting in my early 20s, and I'm in my mid 40s now.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this is not full on therapy, but there are therapy vibes. And then on top of it, full disclosure for everybody, I work now at an organization called Laughing Together, which is a wing of Wellness Together, and Marlon is the CEO of Wellness Together. So Marlon's also my boss. Marlon can fire me based on like I am a fireable employee of one of the two people who's going to give me therapeutic advice on this, which is probably one of the reasons that this is not therapy, right? You would never get therapy from someone who could fire you.
This is the worst case scenario.
Yeah. That's like, one of the top 5 rules is like, do not give therapy to anybody that you actually know. And so this, like you're saying, this doesn't count as actual therapy, but we'll be using our like therapy skills. But I don't think we're going to be trying to like make you cry or dig too deep here.
It doesn't take much, to be fair. It doesn't take much.
If anything, Chris, I think I'll be the one who looks like a jerk if this doesn't go well.
No, everybody's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about the problem that you want us to help solve for you?
Well, I was thinking about, there's definitely a lot of things in my life And I talk with my therapist about those. So I was trying to think of like, what's one of the things that's a little more back burner that I legit need help with.
Mhm.
That's not like the number 1, 2, or 3 topics I talk with my shrink about, but there is one thing I've brought up that we haven't even been able to fully tackle yet, which is that I'm in my 40s now. My metabolism has slowed down a lot,
Mhm.
especially in the past couple of years. And I'm walking around and I'm carrying more weight than I used to. It used to be that just living my life, eating how I wanted, and going about my day, working out a couple times a week, but more like mowing the lawn, picking up my son, chasing him around, I'd walk around about 155 pounds. Now my metabolism, same thing, is 170 pounds. So it's a pretty big shift. And I don't love having to buy bigger shirts and looking in the mirror. But here's the thing is like when I go for my physical, my doctor is like, well, what do you think is at the core of the weight gain? Because like, yeah, metabolism slows down, but are there any lifestyle shifts? And I'm like, oh, well, my relationship with food is completely atrocious. It's atrocious. And I'm aware of it. And I think about it every day and cannot find it in me to make any simple choices that would actually start to push back against the problem. And it's to the point where I knew this is what I was going to talk about today. And I had to drive to pick up something. I was running some errands this morning and passed a bagel store and was like, I'm going to stop and get an everything bagel with cream cheese and an orange juice too. Now I live in North Jersey where the bagels are incredible. But as I was parking my truck, I was like, this is the problem. And I'm going on a podcast today to talk about how if I drive past a bagel store, I will very often not be able to resist. And I'm going to talk about it in a couple hours. And I went, and that is what it is. And I went and I ate a bagel with cream cheese. I didn't have a single vegetable yesterday. I'm 43 years old. I think I had 2 glasses of water the whole day. I eat like a college kid who hasn't learned his lesson yet.
Yeah. How did that bagel taste? Were you enjoying it?
Oh my goodness. It was an everything bagel. Cream cheese was perfect. And I don't know, listen, people like to slam New Jersey, but anybody who ever comes in and hangs out here, our pizza, our bagels, our hot dogs, those are 3 foods we do better than anybody else. Like working class, quick grab and go foods, Jersey is the best at. Which is real bad for me because I mean I'm again 43 years old and I eat pizza at least once a week. And when I say that, I don't mean a slice. I mean I'm eating pizza and it's pleasure. There's pleasure involved and it's a reward I give myself, but it's a punishment. It is a punishment physically, but it's the reward I give myself is eat like a maniac. Even as I'm saying it, I'm realizing I am saying this at a desk where there's just a can of Pringles on the desk in front of me. It's a problem.
Yeah. How did you feel after you were done with the bagel?
I liked it a lot.
Okay. So there was no like feelings of guilt or shame or anything like that.
Well, I'll tell you, like like full disclosure.
Yeah.
Like I feel really good in the moment. But every day I tell myself, okay, I know my Fitbit is on my desk. I got to find the charger to charge the Fitbit to make sure I get 10,000 steps. Never do it. I downloaded this yoga app and it's bad. It's like a cartoon woman. I realized I've been hoodwinked. I saw it on an Instagram app. I was like, that's what's going to change my behavior. And it's literally a cartoon. Like it's like you're doing yoga with one of the Sims. It's not a real human. It's depersonal. It's sad. And I sit here and I do it and there's no one correcting me on the yoga. And if things are too hard, I'll be like, I'm just going to skip this one. So it's like in the moment, eating the bagel, eating pizza, I love it. But then I tell myself, man, here's all these other things I'm going to do to counteract this. And I don't put nearly the effort I put into them than driving to a bagel store. And then at the end of the night, I sit there and I go, and summer's coming and I live in an area where I'm not too far from a lake, and I'm going to have to take my shirt off in front of people I'm going to see all summer. And last summer when I was taking my shirt off, I really didn't feel great about it. And and like this window is closing where I can do something about it before June, and I'm not going to feel great about it again. So in the moment, the dopamine kick, fantastic. Loving that bagel. Almost instantly, I'm like, go find the Fitbit charger. And then I just don't do it. So it's a problem. It's a loop. It's a loop. It's self-destruction. But I also don't. So I also should tell you that I don't drink or do drugs. And I will tell you that I'm very well aware that a lot of my behavior with food, I was the type of person that was like, part of why I need to stop drinking is because I'm somebody who's like, ooh, a bar. I'll go have 2 beers alone and no one needs to know about it. And I'm doing the same thing with a bagel. It's the same side of my personality. So I'll put that out there too. Anyway, this got heavy. That last part got heavier.
You're being so real.
Yeah, this is just to start out. I don't think there's a better way to motivate someone to do yoga than a non-playable character from a random app that doesn't give you any feedback. So I don't know what the problem is there. I can't give you any advice there.
Oh, it's a sad app. I'm not going to name the app, but it's as soon as I was proud of myself when I downloaded it and I opened it and instantly was like, ooh, this is a sad thing for sad people. I just gave them money to be sad.
So it cost money? It wasn't like a free?
No, it's not a free app. I paid money.
Okay. All right.
Money.
Well, first of all, yeah, I think that you've identified an issue there on your own that might not be super motivating, but part of the time that you're describing this, I'm finding it hard to help you solve the problem because I lost myself in living through you and that bagel this morning.
It was such
I would
a
have.
bagel.
Oh my! Is it the idea of putting everything on one bagel? Like I'll take every flavor you have, and then toasting that, kind of warming it up, letting it breathe, and then putting that just cream cheese all over it.
I might go get another one later.
I don't know. Today's going to be hard because I want to validate, but I don't want to enable. And I want to reflect. But I think a lot of what I'll be doing today is validating this struggle and normalizing it, maybe with a story from my own life here and there, reflecting back to you how this is a struggle for many, many people.
And I will tell you this too, like this was hard. So I'm a comedian. I've been a performer for years. I did this show, Career Suicide, that was about mental health and depression and stuff. And I did it off Broadway in 2016. And I will never forget this. And I mean, this is 8 years ago. This tells you how long I've kind of obsessively known I need to change some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the producer of the show texts me one night after the show. He's like, how do you think tonight went? And I was like, honestly, I think we were like a week or two into the run. I was like, honestly, I think that was the first one where it was firing on all cylinders. I think that was the best run we've done so far. I was psyched. He's like, that's amazing because the New York Times sent the reviewer tonight. I didn't want to tell you beforehand. And I was like, oh, I rocked it. Like I was in the zone. New York Times review comes out. It's from their theater reviewer. It was the theater reviewer at the time that was like, they had a few people on staff, but this was the one that everyone in New York paid attention to the most, like their top dog. And the review was this really, really glowing review of the show. And I can't tell you anything he said about the show, but I can tell you that he referred to me as a 36-year-old performer with a paunch in the New York Times. And it's the only thing I can quote from that review, which makes me sad that he pointed out my gut, which he's in his rights to do. It felt a little ancillary to the content of the show or the experience of the ticket buyer, but like he's allowed to paint the picture. I mean, there was also a photo of me. I don't know if he needed to, in writing, it was already very visible in the photo, but it is sad to me that 8 years ago, I can tell you that one of the most important reviews I ever got as a performer pointed out my gut, and it crushed me back then. And I've made jokes about it since then, but that was 8 years ago, and I still haven't done anything about it, and it's getting worse.
Hmm. That's kind of fucked up of that reviewer. I gotta say,
The
like,
rest of that review helped sell so many tickets. It was a great review. I was lucky to have it, but man, all I could read
The
was
paunch part might have helped sell tickets too. I can tell you, I don't always want to go to a comedy show where someone is totally physically fit. That's not very funny.
36 and buff and sad.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even trust someone who's totally physically fit, to be honest with you. Like if I have a doctor and I go in and I have a problem and they look really buff, like they really focus on their own physical fitness, I'm pretty sure they're not a great doctor. Like they're not probably thumbing through medical journals as often
Right.
as I want them to.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, yeah.
Well, interestingly, I'm exactly 155 pounds, so I feel like you're both looking at me and like sexualizing me and wishing you were in my body.
I want to apologize ahead of time, Jeff.
But like this sort of problem, and I'm interested in what you think, Marlon. Like I feel like there's lots of different ways you can go to like try to like quote unquote solve this. But and usually this sort of like issue, you know, like you're gonna like talk about in therapy for a long time to kind of like dig into all the stuff of what's going on there. But I feel like one direction to go is like, all right, let's try to figure out how to kind of like create a healthier relationship with food so that it doesn't feel like it's hijacking you, and that you can have like more deliberate action about what you're eating and putting in your body. And then another direction that you can go is like, can we just fucking like accept our bodies and not judge them as much? It's probably like a little bit of column A and column B, right? But I'm wondering, like, Gethard, is there like a direction you would rather go that feels better for you? And before you answer that, like, really think about like what's like the healthiest choice for you. Do you want to get into a place where you feel like you're accepting what your body is and what it looks like now, or do you really want to change your relationship with food?
Well, I think I want to change my relationship with food in a few ways that I think are healthy, which are I have a son now, and I do sometimes sit there and go, man, I went hard at pizza and I'm in my 40s and I'm carrying weight around, and that's not going to, like, that's either a wash or it shortens your life, right? To be like, and I have a son, so I think about him a lot. And then the other thing that I know that's the relationship with food side of it is I'd be happy to accept my body where it landed if I didn't do things like, oh, I just did a comedy show and it got out at 11 and I had a really good set, so I'm going to go get a slice of Sicilian pizza, even though I already ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner because this is a reward for me. That's not necessary. That I feel bad about that. Yesterday, I got a lunch where I said, I hope my wife doesn't ask me what I had for lunch because she's going to look at me and go, what are you doing? Because there's this deli, Marlon, this place. There's this deli.
I love how you knew I would be the one vulnerable to this story.
There's this deli there's this deli not too far from my house, and it's like a liquor store and deli, and it's run by an Indian family, and they have an Indian food section where they'll make you like a panini pressed paneer tikka sandwich, like pressed cheese and cream-based tomato sauce. I went and got that
this
and
is
a bag
into
of
a
chips.
food porn episode.
But listen, like
Jeff,
that
help me
phrase
out.
is real.
You're
You
going to be
guys
helping
can
both
hear,
of us
like,
soon.
But I think there's truth to it. Like the late night pizza, when I'm like, I'm not even hungry, but I need a reward because I just did a good show. I'm not going to tell my wife that I had a pressed cheese and cream tomato sauce sandwich with chips and a soda because I know she's going to go, what are you doing? And I'm going to know I should have asked myself that question. That's the side of me where I'm like, I don't need to be buff. I don't need a six pack. I would like my relationship with food to be healthier in the sense that, like I said, it is real for me to go, oh, I used to be like this about drinking sometimes.
Yeah.
I used to be like this about drugs when I dabbled.
Right.
Yeah, it sounds like it might be somewhat of a replacement behavior that will probably kill you slower, but
it's a better addiction, and I can
is,
tell myself that, and there's truth to it, but I don't know if the phrase better addiction is the best place to land. You know?
It's a harm reduction model, right? That is, it is a better addiction.
Great policy. Yeah. Part of the what I keep hearing, Chris, and I'm just going to reflect this back, and it's something I'm very familiar with as well. but it sounds like every time this happens, or you kind of make the decision, and there's a lot of good feelings and dopamine that goes into, the searching behavior before you even eat, just kind of just seeing the trigger of the bagel shop or the deli, and then it starts to be on your mind, and you're kind of like, well, what if, will they, won't they, what if I did, and how would that feel? And so that starts the cycle right away. And then it often will go into where you're actually eating the food and feeling great, and maybe even great for a little bit afterwards. But something that I keep hearing from you is, after that, it sounds like there is a tremendous weight and shame that sort of sets in, and maybe part of the problem, and maybe something we can look at. If we could short circuit that shame, that might be helpful, and relieve some of that, because shame will leave us looking for the next time that we can feel pleasure again, faster than most other things. Shame is just pain.
Well, listen, I grew up Catholic, so if you want to start unwrapping shame, we can talk as long as you like.
Yeah, it's sort of in a lot of ways, this is different. I've talked to other therapists, other people in the field, and they say, some pro-social shame is good. It keeps you part of everything and makes you feel like you're part of the human race and everything. I don't know. I tend to think it's kind of a waste of time and energy and effort, especially something that is so, normal, along with food being drugified in our day and age. I mean, food's delicious, and it's really not meant to be that good. So what could we do? And what are some thoughts you have around, like, what would happen if you let go of that last piece of the cycle?
I'd probably start there as well. And usually, when I'm talking to somebody that has this sort of issue or problem, it's just like, well, why the fuck are we starting there? That's not doing anything for me, right? So I'll feel a little better. I won't feel as hijacked by shame. I'm still fucking eating whatever I want, right? But like you said, when you do feel that shame, there's an even stronger desire to then go do something to get that dopamine hit, and that cycle kind of keeps on going. So I do think that we need to, how can you you not feel as much shame? And also, just another thing that I'm noticing is that the way that you tell these stories about eating, there's so much powerlessness around. You have absolutely no control over it. You see the trigger, and that's it. I'm stuffing my face with some fucking cream cheese.
I'm intellectually aware. I'm doing the thing that I sit and think about at night.
Yeah.
This is going to be the part of the day that I'm mad about myself before I go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll take one. I'll take one bag of chips with the bagel, please.
Yeah. I want you to love that part of you and accept that part of you and understand, I don't know if this is super helpful, but what you said, it is better than drugs. It is better than alcohol. There is something there. And that part of you is trying to, I don't know, protect you or keep you cozy or make you feel good. And it's doing something that's not as harmful as those other things. You are going to live longer because you're not doing really shitty things to your body. So that's really helpful. Why are you smirking at me? I feel this isn't getting through. Can you?
No, it is.
It is.
I also like that. I like that this environment, because you said so clearly, it's not therapy what we're doing here. We're letting the guard down.
Right.
And I wonder, how often do you have clients where you're like, why are you smirking at me? And you can't. I like that you can say that.
I don't ever get to say that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can say that to you. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's kind of like a Fritz Perls gestalt. I mean, he would call that out. So I think I liked it. I thought it was a good therapeutic tool.
Good. Yeah. How do you feel about that though, Gethard? Do you think that you could maybe lower the shame and accept this part of you and even find it sweet or endearing or neutral? I don't know.
I can tell you, there's, the amount you guys have had to think about social media is you probably are so tired of hearing it, but I sit here, I go, man, the amount of times where if you go on Instagram, they're going to throw a food blog at you. They're going to throw a thing at you like that. And I will say, I sit there sometimes and I'm like, man, I wish there's a part of me that wishes I could go, look at, like, here's this picture of this dope ass insane lunch I just had. Instead of going, man, I'm just going to eat this by myself and hope that my wife doesn't ask me what I ate because I know it was bad. Like, it's not great. It's not great.
That
But
sort of puts her in a rough position too, because now all of a sudden she's more than just your wife. She's like your dietitian and or
right.
confessional.
Yeah. And I mean, and she's a very healthy person. She's a very healthy person. So I think I do feel that shame too. So I'd love to learn how to let that go. The experience of eating and finding joy in food and sharing that more with people, that I think I could shake the shame about. The health side of it. And my wife, also, to be clear, because I'm not trying to in any way insinuate, she has said to me, I'll sometimes be hard on myself and I'll be like, I got to drop 20 pounds because I got to look good for you again. And she'll be like, I don't care if you look good. I just don't want you having a heart attack. Like, I don't want that. And that's real.
You know, the balance, and I think we may, and I think Jeff, I've heard Jeff talk about this actually, the balance of your lifestyle in general is probably pretty different from your wife. And when I won't use your life, but I'll say a comedian may experience long days that are, we talk about the three S's, and actually sometimes the four S's: solitary time all day long, and you're by yourself. That's not great for your mental health. And then you have like this 20 minutes where you need to be your best self at night. So that's going to affect your sleep. That's the second S. So solitary, sleep. And then if you don't sleep well, then you become sedentary. You don't move around a lot. That affects your mental health. And then all the focus on all this together, it's helpful to have some type of, like you said, a meaning to it. You look at your son and you think, and this, I do this too, I need to be around for this guy. That's important to me. And I kind of lump that in with spirituality just because it is about why I think I'm here on earth and my purpose. And so the lifestyle that you kind of have to live because of your job, and I think some of it we can take a look at just like a daily schedule that could balance things out a little bit. And now that as you are doing different things more now, what would that look like to sort of not put yourself in the situation where you've experienced a lot of pain alone for a long period of time? Anyone in that situation is going to go looking for at least a bagel.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Boom. Boom.
Yeah. Let that sit with that for a little bit. But I do want to get to like some tips, some practical advice that he can implement over the next week so that he can come back to us a changed man. I also want to say that like your wife seems to be like acting like a mirror for you, like you're projecting a bunch of shit onto her. So you might need to consider divorce. I'm not sure that we might have to break up the family if after the week you don't do. So that's a consequence that we can talk about next time.
Okay, do you let her know or do I let her know? How does that work?
We're going to invite her on the pod for the next episode.
Jeez,
and we'll break it to
okay.
her. Yeah, I'll gently. But I also, like, one of the things I want you to do over this next week is the next time you get like the urge or the craving, I just want like a little bit of space there. Like I was saying, like all of a sudden there's an urge and then there's powerlessness and you're like, I'm fucking doing this. What's going on in that space in between? Is there like negotiating? Are you getting into a fight with yourself? Is that not even there anymore? I imagine that like if you took a pause, it'd be really uncomfortable, like mentally, emotionally, maybe even physically uncomfortable. And I want you to just like hang out in that space and tolerate that uncomfortable feeling. See if you can do it for 5 seconds or 5 minutes or for an entire morning before you get that bagel. So I'm not saying like don't get the bagel at all, but like put some space in between you and the bagel. You know what I mean? How do you feel about that?
I feel good about that.
Okay.
I feel like that should be doable. Because and so much of this is stuff that it's like I'm driving to pick up stuff on errands and I'm going, I know I'm gonna pass the bagel store. So it's stuff that I see, I have to it's not at my beck and call. A lot of it's like Marlon said too, like sometimes if I'm active and touring as a comedian, it's like, well, I'm in a city I don't know, so I guess Waffle House is, at least I've been there before,
Sure.
and it's like, that's an excuse. So being
Yeah.
able to take a pause before those things, saying, no, I'm seeking this out, so let's pause and really think about it as a choice instead of an inevitability would
Right.
be a good, probably allow me to beat myself up less at the end of the day.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So pause, understand that it's a choice that you're making. And if it eventually wins, which it probably will, because it has a lot of power over you, like I want to know what it's telling you to like go there and get that bagel or something. Like I want to know, like I need like even more data about what happens in that pause. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I-
Marlon, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that is going to be very empowering for you, Chris, to consider that and to just take a second and think, well, maybe I don't have to do that. Or maybe there's something else that I could do that may also be rewarding, but just not as.
Yeah. Have a cigarette.
Yeah. Get some nicotine gum every time.
Do some vapes.
I would just ask, Chris, is there something in your life kind of maybe in those areas that I mentioned where you feel like maybe you're going to have the opportunity to increase your balance when it comes to either sleep, time you spend alone, time you spend not active, or even time you spend thinking about what's most important to you and kind of that value-driven behavior. Is there an area, any of those that might be a quick, because we only have a week here, so I'm trying to get one that will be.
I would say, as far as value driven, like having a sense of purpose in life, I'm good. Like that.
Mm-hmm.
I've always tried to make choices that are driven by ethics and trying to make cool stuff and trying to help people and be positive. One of the things in my life that I think actually gives me a dopamine kick, the only other thing I can point to that does it is I volunteer for a first aid squad to drive an ambulance on Tuesday nights. Like, and sometimes that I can feel become an addictive thing as well, where I'm like, ooh, I hope I get a call tonight. I kind of need a call to call. And I'm like, no, that means someone's hurt. That means someone's in pain. But as far as like a sense of purpose, altruism, feel good, every other aspect, sedentary, solitary, sleep, not strong points in my routine.
What time are you going to bed, and are you eating at night?
I do eat at night. I will snack at night.
Yeah.
I will say I often go to bed after midnight, and some of it's honestly, not to make excuses, but life sometimes is the excuses. But I sit here, I go, sometimes I'm out late doing shows, and then when I'm home, there's a 5-year-old rampaging through our house. There's things to be cleaned. He has to be put to bed. There's dishes that need to be done. And if I'm going to have any time to connect with my wife, that doesn't start until 10:30, 11 o'clock. So if we want to have any sort of conversation and then watch 20 minutes of an episode of The Crown, now all of a sudden we're both up, and it's an issue for both of us with sleep. My wife will often go to bed at like 2 or 3 in the morning because she's like, sometimes my day, we didn't get enough stuff done. So if now I need to like run around and do like actual chores in the middle of the night because everything else gets placed first. So
when are you waking up?
I wake up about like 7 o'clock, 7:30 every morning.
No, this is no good.
And
Chris, I would have no self control over
No,
anything
neither would I.
if I got that little sleep.
Yeah, I'm perpetually pretty exhausted. I work from home, and then the comedian life too is often you're sitting in airport terminals, you're sitting in green rooms. There's maybe a couple other people there, and then as far as the sedentary goes, it's not ideal. It's not ideal. There's 3 big areas there that I can try to.
Well, Jeff, what do you think about starting with sleep? It sounds like there's a lot that could be seen as a reason that you can't get sleep, or maybe some of it is an excuse. I want to be, validating on that. I understand, but is there a day or a date night or someone who you trust that can watch your son, regularly so that you take a little bit of the pressure off of having to be up between 10 and 3 or 10 and midnight, because I can tell you physically, I'm not a doctor, but physically your body's going to think it needs more energy and more food because it's tired.
Yeah. I have some conversations about that maybe, and be nice to get some more babysitter money too. Maybe at my day job, they could give me like a little pay increase. Just
see if I could talk to somebody. I knew that was coming.
Maybe if I had a raise for like specifically babysitter money. No, it is a good point. All jokes aside, it is very good advice. And I do often start at a bit of a deficit as far as being exhausted.
And let me just say one last thing that that has worked for me for at least a month. And this is also, it costs some money. It costs like $200. But I went to Costco classically and bought a Ring alarm system. And this is, a bit vulnerable, but I think it's not for my house. It's just for my kitchen. And it goes on every night at 11 p.m. And if I get into the garage refrigerator, our regular refrigerator, or any of our cabinets with food, I will wake everyone up in the family and be a total a-hole. And so I've only actually done that once, and it was an accident because I got down there before 11 and got a bunch of chips, and I tried to put them away, and then I woke everyone up and had to. And my wife has the code, so she's agreed to help me with that. And so I had to wake her up and be like, I swear I was just putting the chips away, but at the same time, I haven't eaten at night at home in almost a month because of that. So that little bit of self-binding as well might be helpful.
Yeah, I support that. There's always like a little bit of punishment can go a long way sometimes.
I'll set up some alarms, some booby traps, some ways to really go on an adventure every time I want to eat a piece of chocolate.
Make it a little more difficult on yourself.
Yeah,
it's almost like traumatic at this point during the day when I go to open a cabinet because I'm like, oh, is it gonna?
Okay, so there you go. Really try to figure out how you can sleep, at least for this next week. Like, can you get better sleep? Another, like an extra hour or two. See if you can just like pause for a little bit before you have that like trigger and then go right into like, well, this is definitely going to fucking happen. Like, hang out in that pause, see how you feel in it. Is it uncomfortable? What are the thoughts and feelings that are coming up? Because you might be able to tolerate it, actually. You could be like a lot more mentally, emotionally strong than you give yourself credit for, but I'm not sure you're not practicing it or challenging yourself very much. Stop fucking smirking at me.
And also,
yeah, take me
you can't
seriously.
say that. That's in therapy. You can't say
that. Yeah, and see if you can like set up little booby traps for yourself. We're going to let you go. If you don't do any of this stuff, we actually will not shame you, and we love you, and it's going to be okay. You'll let us know like why it was hard to implement these things. This is not letting you off the hook. I'm just like letting you know we're not going to like come down on you. I don't really think you should get a divorce.
Thank you so much.
But I'm interested to see if there's like a little bit of progress you can make on any of these things, and we'll check back with you next week.
Well, thank you both so much. I can say I know this wasn't official therapy, but it actually, there's some very, very actionable stuff in here that I think could help. So thank you for it. And knowing that I have to do a follow-up and be accountable for this will mean that maybe I'll have at least a week to play with it and see how it feels. So thank you.
There you go. Yeah, no problem. All right, we'll talk to you later.
Great seeing you, Chris.
Okay. Yeah, you too.
All right. I thought that was really good. I got a little feisty there, and I allowed myself to do that because I felt like he could take it.
He seemed to be okay.
Yeah, I think he handled it pretty well. How do you think it went?
I think it was good. There were a few times towards the end where he was smirking a lot, and I thought it was good that you asked him about that. I don't know that he answered, but
no.
I couldn't tell if he felt like he was in trouble or like that he was getting great advice but didn't know if he could do it. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. When I sort of like gave him a little shit and he was like smirking even more, I was like, maybe he's somewhat of a masochist. Maybe he kind of likes this, being treated this way. And it's funny because he kind of like brought up at him, at one point, like the first time I kind of like laid into him a little bit. He was like, oh yeah, I feel like this isn't therapy because you wouldn't really do this with a client. And I might not have that energy with a client, but I'm probably going to point out like a shift in their body language, or if they do make a face, there's so much there to like unpack. So it's not like that weird of a move to do in therapy, but like it was like kind of like all in fun too with this one.
I thought it was good, except for when he did seem stunned when you told him that he should get a divorce. He seemed a little upset. I don't think he wanted his wife to hear that, even as a joke. Just don't
Yeah,
have to
I don't
talk
know
about
if that
it.
one landed all that well. Yeah, but you know what? I like to take risks.
It was good. I was interested to see how he was going to react to it. But I can say that in being his friend and, when just hanging out, I don't try to make him laugh often because he's a comedian and I'm not. But the times where I have been self-deprecating on my end.
Interesting.
So I think that does connect well
Okay.
with him.
That's good. Yeah. And it's also like when he talked a little bit about his wife and how he can like feel like he's letting her down and he feels shame and or he's like letting down his kid. I didn't get the picture. I didn't get the feeling that like his wife was actually shaming him at all. It sounds like his wife is just a supportive person, right?
She's great.
Yeah.
It's weird to think because I've seen them interact. She's absolutely supportive. Granted, I don't know everything, but it seemed like if I were her, and I didn't say this to him, and I'm sure he'll hear it, and now we'll see what happens. But I would feel a little pissed if I were her, because he's sort of outsourcing his habits. Like, and I've done it before. Don't get me wrong, but it's a lot of pressure though for another person to be like, you're like, I don't want to tell them this because they won't even try to make me feel guilty, but I will. And that sort of sets up roadblocks in communication and relationships. So I'm hoping next week we can talk about that.
Yeah, exactly. And, like they say, like when you're in a relationship, it's sort of like holding up a mirror to like all of your shit or insecurities or relationship issues. And so your partner is most likely going to be somewhat of a mirror, and that's what's going on. And it was also very sweet when he was like, I want to do this for my kid. Like I want to be around for a long time. I don't have a kid. I don't want to have kids specifically for that. Like, I don't want to have to like be on earth any longer than I fucking need to. Right.
Oh, I get it.
But there's a thing that happens when you have a child. It's like, I want to stick around. And so that's very sweet too. And there's also like, we're all, I think maybe like within 6 months of each other age wise. So we're all like 43, 44 years old. And there is really something that happens to your body where like, I've been working out like 5 days a week for a year and I've like lost 5 pounds. And that's all for a whole fucking year. I've lost 5 pounds.
I mean, did you really need to lose 5 pounds at all? It seems like you're just kind of staying at a good place.
I guess it's keeping me staying at a good place, but I wanted to like lose 10 and I just can't lose that extra 5. If I was doing this in my 30s, I don't think that would be a problem at all. And so that's why I was kind of like leaning into like, how can we sort of like accept that this is who we are and our bodies are doing its thing, right? And I think he was like maybe a little bit open to that, but more like, no, I just need to like eat differently. Right?
Yeah, and he was really bummed out about that reviewer, for his off-Broadway show, saying that he had a paunch. But honestly, I think a lot of us, and I want to be a little bit defensive for the somewhat overweight community, I'd kill for a paunch. I just have like a straight up gut. Like it is not like a paunch is like, oh, that's cute. They're kind of, they're not like vain. They don't, they're not always trying to get a 6-pack, but a paunch, that's fine. In today's day and age, I feel like
we love a punch.
Yeah. Punch all the way.
But it's It's a good, it was like such a vulnerable moment when he talked about that, right? Because
Yeah.
like he is all about being entertaining and an actor and, you know, being a comedian, whatever. So, and like he's waiting for this big review. And the one fucking thing he remembers is the critical thing about his body. Like
Oh,
that's how powerful this shit is. And we all, I feel like when he told that story, we're like, yeah, I can relate. I have like 10
all
stories.
of us, we're like,
dozens.
we're always trying to make sense of information, and we're always trying to pick out that negative information to, I think, from like evolutionary, like to save our lives, but it's not really serving us anymore. So,
Mhm.
you know, we're always trying to detect worst case scenario and stay away from it. But, you know,
Yeah.
it's just not helpful.
No, it's not at all. But I really like how you focused on sleep and that you asked him about what his sleep cycle was. Because there's this study that measured like, okay, so if you keep somebody up for 48 hours, what is your brain functioning? Well, it's pretty fucked. And you compare that to somebody who only sleeps 6 hours a night for 7 days a week. The brain functioning is the exact same as the person who stays up for 48 hours. Like
Oof.
you're fucked. Like, and when your
Yeah.
brain has like that little like functioning, you're gonna eat all the fucking bagels, right? Like that's
Right.
just gonna happen.
You need to balance your brain, and I think you're going to be so tired, and your body's going to be like, what the hell is this? I have to have some energy. You must not be eating enough. So stop and get some food.
Yeah. And so my suggestion of like, okay, let's explore that gap there, like hang out for a little bit. It's
I love
harder to
that.
do. Thank you. That was really good. I'm a really good non-therapist slash therapist. Yeah.
It helped me. It was a good reminder that you have some power in it. And I thought you did a good job calling him out lovingly about acting as though he didn't have control over any of it. Like it was all so like happening to him. And yeah.
The narrative that he has is just so powerless, right? And so if he can actually create a little bit of gap and find some success in doing that, then the next time I see him and he says like, oh, I was able to do it for 5 minutes or whatever. Like if he could like exercise a little bit of power, then what I will probably do is just like, look at you, my guy. That is amazing. There is progress. I'm so proud of you. So that we can start to create like a little more power and control. We'll see if he can do that. Again, this is like a big issue that he's been struggling with for his whole life, just like all of us have been. So I'm not sure if there's going to be much movement in a week, but there might be.
That's good. It's a good reminder for everyone, Jeff, to think about the space between our thoughts, our cognition, and then our behavior. That's often the thing that will, but you know, when we get so stressed out and don't sleep and start to lose perspective of what's really truly important to us, we just become people reacting to things all day long and no longer take back the power, just act.
Yeah, we're just drones. We're AI. It's boring.
Arguing with people online, repeating other people's content, getting pissed off.
Yeah, I can't stand that shit. All right, well, I'm excited to see how it goes and if any progress was made.
Me too. Thanks so much for having me, Jeff. I love hanging out. Can't wait to do it again.
All right, hello and welcome back, Geth and Marlon. How you two doing?
Doing good. Doing good. Great to see you guys.
I'm not doing great, man. I'm not doing. That was a weird week. You guys put me in my head about some very eye-opening stuff. I think this was bad. I think this. What you guys did was good, but this is eye-opening in a way that's been concerning.
Oh, well, I'm really interested. Can you expand on that? Tell us about your week.
Well, I did only eat one everything bagel with cream cheese. It was so good. It was really good.
Okay.
Was it at the beginning or the end?
It was yesterday. It was towards the end. But I'll tell you, you gave some good, simple advice, which was to think about some other aspects of life. And I will not lie, as I think often happens when people, how would I say this? Because you guys know that a lot of times therapists will say stuff. And it's easy to sit here as someone who doesn't have a degree, who believes in it strongly, but I still will go, it's a little eye rolly, the 4 S's, right? Like it feels like a cliche or some sort of like meme type thing.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking about those 4 S's all week, and I was like, oh, I'm in major red flag territory on 3 of them. Major.
Uh-huh.
In a way where then when I started thinking, because even when you guys were saying it last week, I was like, I don't know, I just want to kind of make jokes about my eating habits. Why do I have to think about my sleep? And then I will tell you, there hasn't been one night in this past week where I've gotten more than 5 hours. There was one night where I slept 8 hours. Every other night I was woken up by something 4 to 5 hours into my sleep, and then up for an hour or two, and then sleep for 90 more minutes maybe.
Right.
And immediately I was like, okay, the sleep, 4 S's, the sleep, bad. And starting my day at major deficits. This is not good. Like, I'm tired, I'm grumpy, and there are times where I was realizing some of why I'm grabbing this food is A, I'm tired, I don't want to cook for myself, I don't want to create dishes, I'm in a bad mood because I'm exhausted. The solitary one, I have not seen a friend in a friend context all week. I've not hung out with a friend all week. I haven't had a phone call with a friend. I haven't done anything that involves actual friendship. I also have a very bad habit I think I have a good habit of making friends out of coworkers. I have a bad habit of making coworkers out of friends. So I do have a podcast that I do with some friends I grew up with, but our relationship now, the podcast started as an excuse to touch base with the friends, but that's a work project. That's a thing. That's a creative
brought deadlines
project.
into it. A little more stress.
Yes, exactly.
Triangulation, if you will.
I turned some of my closest friends into coworkers. Not the same thing.
I hate to jump in here. I never, ever do this. But if you could just plug, just for like anybody's sake who's listening, that specific podcast, that would be great, Geth.
Oh, sure. That's my podcast, New Jersey is the World, that your producer, Andrea, is also a big part of.
Right.
It's a bunch of my high school friends I grew up with. But now, like you said, we're on deadlines together. There's frustrations with that. There's things where there's responsibilities that roll to me. And I'm like, oh, man, someone else was supposed to handle this. And I'm like, it's my friend since I was 13 years old was supposed to handle it. Now I'm treating them like the person forcing me to meet a deadline. Sedentary, not good. Don't think there was a single day where I got 10,000 steps in. My sad yoga app, I think I've done it 2 out of the 7 days since we talked. So
You're still going for it with that same app? I thought we discussed this.
I paid money for it. I'm trying. The spirituality one, I will say, I'm not a spiritual person in that I'm not religious. I will say my job with Laughing Together, I feel very, very fulfilled by trying to help schools. The one thing that I've had going the past few years, and this week it was true, I do volunteer on a volunteer ambulance squad, driving the ambulance. I answered 2 calls this week. And those moments I could feel very big moments of stress relief compared to every other point this week. And I think some of that relates to my version of spirituality, which is like, oh, cool, I get to go do something in the service of others. Like I get to drop, this alarm goes off and I drop everything else. I go help someone else. It's community driven. I feel good about it. The stories are often also very, funny that come out of it. I did answer one ambulance call where after we dropped a person off at the hospital, our ambulance would not start again and we had to take a lift home, me and 2 EMTs. So it's like I get a funny story. I got to help somebody. So that side of it, I've always felt very driven through my creative work to try to prioritize doing it for other people. So that S was covered. The other 3, I was like, oh man, no wonder I just want to grab food and go. I'm stressed out.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And now you have this like wonderful awareness seeing.
Is that what this is? I call it panic. I'm in crisis.
That's part of, doing one almost therapy session and then leaving for a week. I mean, things do need to get a little worse before they can get better. And part of that's sort of looking in a mirror.
I mean, I also do have my own therapist that I meet with every other week. And I've brought up the eating stuff, but I mean, what I realized though is like I've been with her since 2007. So she knows all the bigger fish to fry. And I think there's some element of like, hey, do you ever work out? Do you ever eat vegetables? That's like, no, she's got a what's 15-year knowledge base of where I'm at and what we need to be talking about, and things that are very immediate that need handling. But these overall things are dog shit.
But
I'm like,
I would say
this is dog shit.
I would say other way around. I think the things that you just listed are immediate that need handling, because you're not really going to want to do those other things, and you're going to have a lot less opportunity for those spiritual moments if you are so tired and grumpy that you know.
The sleep is the one that's like the solitary. I'm like, that's an easy fix. The sedentary is an easy fix. The sleep one, I'm like, I've realized my sleep schedule is chaos. Chaos.
Tell me a little bit more about why it feels like it's so chaotic.
I mean, if I'm being honest, so there was one night where I slept well, and the next day was the best day I had all week. Not shockingly.
Why did you sleep well? Right. What was so special about that night?
The other nights are eye-opening. So 2 of the nights I had stomach problems, where I woke up and my horrible diet caused me to wake up and have to go sit in the bathroom for a while. 2 of the nights, if I'm being totally frank, and I love her to death, my wife woke me up. She will often stay up a lot later than me. I've been trying to get very clear to her and saying, like, I need to go to bed earlier. Sometimes, I think I expressed it last week, sometimes the end of the night is the only time she and I have to hang out together. But I'm starting to realize me watching TV for 11 minutes and then passing out anyway, I just need more sleep. So there's times where she'll come to bed hours later and it wakes me up. And then there was another night where my son woke me up. And my son, he turned 5 this week. It was his birthday. Happy birthday to him. I love the kid to death. But I am trying to make it clear to him there are some things that you can't wake me up about. Like if you wake me up and tell me pull my blanket up, you're 5. You can pull your own blanket up now. Because I'm going to be up for an hour and tomorrow's going to suck.
That has to be the cutest way to be woken up, or the cutest reason, I have to say.
And he's a really cute kid. He's got dimples and stuff. He's very cute. But point being, I think, like a lot of people who are maybe young parents, the Venn diagram of when we are both physically awake has some big stretches that don't cross over. Like I'm usually up at 7 a.m. and she's not. And then I'm usually in bed at 10 and she's awake. So some of it's just that. The actual physical times that we are awake don't match up so well anymore.
Right. But I don't imagine that there's like a lot of planning about like when you can spend those times together. You're just sort of like taking advantage of whenever you can. And you're sort of like just kind of, maybe there's a part of you that feels, I don't know, guilty, or you're the one that has to make some of the sacrifices. I mean, she has to make sacrifices too. You're pointing that out. But you're going to do it and not meet your own needs sometimes, which are sleep needs, in order to please the other people that you love and care about in your family, which is totally understandable. But maybe this problem can be solved or start to get solved if you and your wife really sat down and you're like, let's just be really fucking practical about this and try to prioritize everybody's like health and mental health and physical health. What would be good times for bedtimes and spending quality time together? Like, let's map that out over the next week and see what we can do here. So you might not get 8 hours, but you could get 7 hours. That could make a difference.
A dream.
Right.
I also had the thought, and look, I'm home and she's home too. Yeah. I was like, man, are we one of those couples that should have separate bedrooms? Like that feels sad.
Does it?
But I'm starting to see, there's some couples I've met who swear by that. Swear by it.
So good. It's so good.
You do that?
When I was married, I had separate bedrooms. We had like a guest bedroom that either me or her like used half of the week, and it was fucking amazing. And then we get to like see each other in the morning, and we're like refreshed and feeling really excited to see each other. Highly recommend.
It feels very unromantic to suggest, but I'm like, man, that would solve a lot of my problems. I think it would create some issues with our bond and like, well, what's that say about intimacy and whatnot? But I'm like, God damn, I would sleep so much better.
I don't know how important it is to be intimate while you're asleep. I think if you can get better sleep, I'm realizing also in hearing this how much better of a therapist Jeff is than I am, because all I want to do, Chris, is tell you what to do right now. And it's not
Well, I mean,
because I
that's
have
what
it
we're
all
here for.
together.
Please,
Yeah, it's not.
please tell me what to do. Also, reminder, you are my boss.
Well, let's leave the try relationship out of this. It's like we have three different versions of interacting, but yeah. One
Yeah.
thing I heard you say earlier that I wanted to kind of point out, and Jeff pointed this out last time, but it's the shame piece, and I think it's one of the big rocks that gets in the way of making substantial change that needs to be made, that would actually make everyone in your house's life better. Because if you were up and feeling good and in a good mood, you can't tell me that that wouldn't be best for everyone, I think. And if we can kind of see what the goal is and reach towards it and take out some of the big rocks that are getting in the way, I think even just in the way when you first described your sleep, you said, I did really bad, or it was really bad. And I think starting to look at it more as unhelpful versus good or bad, I think might go a long way. And just even the story that you're sort of telling yourself as you try to make some changes.
I think there's a lot of truth to that.
By thinking, and I struggle with this a lot. Actually, we were just talking about it even before we started recording. By thinking that you are responsible for everyone and that you need to help everyone all the time, it's almost like it makes things worse for them, because it's a lot of pressure. It's like we think, what I'm here for is to be a good dad, be a good husband, be a good provider, and sleep is last priority. But if we were to aggressively make sleep a priority, for example, I think they would feel less of a burden to be careful around you. And I think that'd be better for everyone.
I also do feel bad, and I know I'm doing the thing you said where I make jokes when things get deep, but I'm like, man, I really just wanted to talk about how I've been eating too many bagels lately. I had no idea any of this was coming. So thank you, I guess.
Can I bring Barb into this?
Sure.
Is she available?
Oh, I mean, imagine.
Because some of these are things that it sounds like, because you guys have been, and I don't know, are you comfortable saying people know about Barb, right?
Well, yes, I did talk about her a lot in my HBO special. So that's another very layered relationship.
That longtime therapist, Barb, perfect therapist name. I think it sounds like maybe it would be good to get back to basics on some levels and maybe stay out of the highly cognitive, which I know you and I can both do, is stay lost in the intellectual part so that we don't have to deal with the basic reality, because it's usually unfun or depressing. But maybe getting back to some of those basics.
Yeah, I've been a therapist for 20 years, and I've had clients for 10, 15 years. And what happens sometimes with those clients is that we just keep on focusing on the big picture, big capital T trauma, these huge things. And then we lose sight of the everyday things. And that's a normal thing that happens in therapy when you see a therapist for that long. So checking in with her about all the stuff that we're talking about could be good. And it sounds like maybe there's been this part of you that's been sort of avoiding it, because we were talking about last time, there's a powerlessness, helplessness, I have no fucking idea how to change this anyways, so fuck it, right? And one of the things I asked you to do, and it's okay if you weren't able to do this, but last time I was like, can you just take a hot second, a moment between, how did that work out for you?
Eye-opening.
Oh, really? Oh, good.
You know what it forced me to do? Because I'm not gonna pretend that I didn't eat poorly again. But taking those moments of just take a second and think about it.
Mm-hmm.
For example, so yesterday, to give you a sense of my morning, what was I doing first? like that's, and again, not to always blame everything on like the young parent lifestyle, but I'm sure you guys have spoken to many, many clients where it's like, it's just impossible. And this issue of time and sleep and how do you fit everything into the day and still see a friend once in a while and still do anything for yourself. I'm sure I'm far from the first person who's brought it up to you.
Sure.
But yesterday I had a day where I woke up, got a few things done in the morning. Then I had to go get a few fillings at the dentist. And then boring details. My parents spend half the year in Florida. They leave their truck with us when they're up here. So I've been using it for months. Wanted to take my dad's car to the car wash. It was a dreary overcast day, so there were no car washes open. I went to 4 car washes.
What?
All of them were closed. At one point, I was getting so panicked that the day was, at this point, I'm going, I have like 4 full-time jobs. And Marlon, you know that about me for real. Like, I have legitimately 4 full-time, what most people would consider a full-time job. I have 4 of them. It's not healthy.
Yeah.
But I'm an artist, and that's a whole thing to unwrap, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I started driving really fast, going, I have to get home to my computer at some point. Got pulled over. Cop gave me just a warning. And at that point, I thought to myself, I am going to drive past the bagel store. I am going to get a fucking bagel.
But something's got to give at some point. At some point, you can't do all of it, and by trying to do all of it, none of it is going to be very rewarding. Exactly.
But I did realize at that point, I had that moment of, I know that I brought this up. I brought up this bagel thing. I'm going to the same store that I'm talking about last time because I'm about to drive past it anyway. But I had a little bit of a laugh because I sat there and I went, I'm in a really bad mood. I got 2 fillings today. I've gotten pulled over today. I've gone to 4 closed car washes today. Instead of just finally trying to call around, the cop actually, when he pulled me over, he's like, why are you driving so fast? I was like, I'll tell you the truth. I'm trying to find an open car wash because this is my dad's truck and it's covered in bird shit. I've been driving I'm heading to my 4th one. He's like, well, it's going to rain today and the car wash is all closed down if there's rain in the forecast. I was like, I had no idea. Yeah. So he was laughing a little bit about it, but I'm like, it took a cop to tell me, stop looking for car washes. Just go home. It's not going to happen. So when I was like, I want a bagel, but I sat there and I went, I think today, if I'm in this bad a mood and a bagel is going to make me happy, is that ideal? No, I should be finding happiness otherwise. But on a day like this, I think it's fine to go get a bagel. But it felt good to at least get in touch with that. Yes. That's a much better conversation than, I hope my wife doesn't ask me what I had for breakfast because I don't want to tell her I had enough. Like, I want to hide this meal. Because at this point, it gave me a little moment to safety check and go, if Hallie asks me, I won't be embarrassed to say I got a bagel because I'll go, I got pulled over. I went to 4 things. I've had 2 fillings today.
You earned it.
I wanted a bagel. So I went and got a bagel. And that felt very valid and real to me.
Right.
Whereas there was on my son's birthday, he really wanted pizza. We went to an Italian restaurant. I ate a bunch of pasta. I told myself, I don't think I'm going to get dessert. My wife and my son got dessert. And then guess what? We're in the car. They both have ice cream. The ice cream's melting. And my wife goes, I've had as much as I want. And I sit here and I go, I'm just going to eat her ice cream so it doesn't get all over the car, which it actually did. I managed to eat half of it and then it spilled anyway. Cal spilled his all over the car seat. But that's a point where I'm going, I was proud of myself for saying I'm not going to get a dessert. And now I'm literally eating dessert. Like, I'm treating my body as a garbage can because we don't have a garbage can to throw. This is stuff that should be thrown away, but we're in a moving car, so I'm the garbage can. And but that's bad. That's bad.
Chris, do you ever think about, because I know this is true with my wife, what is it like to say with ice cream, oh yeah, I think I've had enough? If it's there.
It's hard not to eat.
Yeah. What?
It's hard not to eat. But
I couldn't have another bite of ice cream.
I will say, while I was disappointed in myself that I was like shoveling the ice cream into my face, it was another moment similar to the sleep of me going, oh, this is other people aren't finishing it. and going, do you just want to finish it so it doesn't spill all over the car? And me going, fine, yeah. And I'll eat it and going, oh, right. This is what I had the moment of, I don't really want that. And I feel good about not wanting it. And then I had the moment of, damn, it is going to spill all over the car. And that is a family pitfall. And it did eventually happen. It spilled all over a bunch of delicious gelato.
Is there any way to separate these things like ice cream and sleep? Is there any way to separate the emotion from it a little bit and just think, yeah, I ate some ice cream. That's not going to be helpful for my stomach tonight. Or, yeah, I didn't get enough sleep. That's not going to be helpful for tomorrow. But simply letting go of the other stuff, because I don't think that's really serving you. I think if anything,
when you say the other stuff, what are you referring to? Because this is useful stuff.
That's great. The other things I'm hearing in addition to, what's helpful and what's not is I'm really worried this ice cream, one, I spent money on something, so I'm going to use it or eat it. So that's a thought, and that's kind of a feeling. I can't be wasteful, whatever the core belief is behind that. A lot of these are really guiding your behavior, but it seems like a lot of the motivating factors are, I got to do this, whether I got to do this I'm valuable because I can help in this way. And so I got to do it, or I need to do it for this other person because they need me to do it. And for the most part, none of that's true.
I hear you.
Like someone told me one time, like, oh, you can quit your job. And I was like, what? And they said, no, seriously, quit your job. And I was like, I obviously cannot. I'm not independently wealthy. And they said, no, you can quit your job as the general manager of the universe. And I can't even say it now without needing to hear it again. So it's not up to you. Not all that's up to you.
Yeah. And I mean, it's, you talk about it in this way of just like, you made this decision, this like good decision that was in alignment with your health and values of not having the ice cream. And then your wife was like, can you just finish this so it doesn't get over the car? And then how quickly it goes from like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. Like, that's what I'm going to do. And then if you don't do that, then you're going to feel bad or guilty or shame. And like Marlon saying, like, it's like, well, their needs are more important than my needs right now, obviously. So that's what I'm just going to focus on. When if you asked your wife, if, like your needs are more important, of course she would know.
I actually want to be clear too. She didn't even, it was more her being like, do you want this? Because I'm not going to finish it.
She's just being a sweetie. Yeah.
And me going,
she's being kind.
But me eating it explicitly in my head going, I'm actually full because the meal was very filling. I know that is going to spill all over the car if we put it down. Right, I'll just eat it instead. It's me having this weird.
You're inventing
not her
shit,
going,
my guy. Yeah.
Me inventing some need to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And knowing, not good.
No.
But I will tell you, and obviously we don't have time for all this, but I've been in a lot of situations in my career in the past where I was the captain. I mean, I used to host a TV show called The Chris Gethard Show, where there were 100 people's jobs.
Right.
Where if the show got canceled, 100 people would lose their job. Like, I have lived a life where there have been a number of things where if I do fail, a lot of people suffer. And there's a part of me that's realizing that it's been very, very good to let that go. It's also very hard to let that go. To have a decade plus stretch of life where a lot of people's actual opportunities relied on me.
Yeah. And how nice is it that you're in a marriage that won't fail if you decide to not be the ice cream garbage can. It won't fail if you decide to sleep in another room sometimes. That's how like strong and secure and lovely your marriage is. And now you don't have to fucking worry about that. What a relief. How liberating, right?
Well, when you put it like that, you make it sound so easy.
You are smiling now.
You make it sound so easy.
You did seem relieved.
That
Chris.
resonates, right?
Yeah. No, but I do, not making excuses, but I'm like, I think I have had a particular psychological journey of legit high stakes people depending on me. That's true. Now that's gone. And that's a weird vacuum to fill in life,
But you have to think about how it got there in the first place, Chris. You and I have that in common. And are you sitting there thinking, I never bring this up, and you always do, but it's that we work together. But are you sitting there thinking, if Marlon fucks this up, he's going to be to blame for everything I'm doing not going well?
No.
Well, I would hope not, because that's too much pressure for me. That's too much pressure for one person.
It's probably also, as we're hashing all this stuff out, probably pretty eye-opening too, that the one thing I pointed to that actually made me happy is the one situation where I did get to help save people. It's 911 calls. It's the one thing in my life that has given, where I was like, the one thing I got going that's just, I totally get it, understand the satisfaction, is the thing where it's actually necessary for me to save people. And everything else is a big excuse about saving people.
Right. So
buying other people time.
Totally.
Helping other people. Yeah, I have a bit of a, what would you call that? Hero complex?
What would you call it?
Messiah complex? Where does this land?
No, we're not going to pathologize it. We're just going to say you really enjoy being of value to other people. And a lot of your worth is tied to that. And you don't but that's not actually true. People love you not because you're saving things all the time. They just love you because of you, because of all of you. Right.
Yeah. I mean, but you guys, I think, are also aware too.
Yeah.
When you've been in a lot of situations where and Marlon, I'm sure you deal with this too on whatever level, or you are better at safeguarding it, but it's other people did used to genuinely depend on me a lot more. And I did maybe mistake that at times for friendship or affection. And now that less people now that the people don't depend on me, we are not as good friends as we used to be. And that is very jarring and lonely at times. And sometimes that'll make you eat a bagel when you're not supposed to, I guess.
Could it be they don't depend on you? Is that really where this is coming from? Because I know I have a lot of good friends that I've known for a long time, and I talk to them very little nowadays because of all the parent stuff that you mentioned earlier and working. But I don't equate it to them not needing me anymore. I think, we're just really busy, so we get together less.
Yeah. I think it's getting deeper than any of us intended, but I think I wound up in some situations professionally where everyone involved was over our heads. My name was on the thing.
Sure.
And then when it ended, an entire community of people had to sort out moving on from this thing that was meaningful and exciting. But man, one of my only regrets about my career and that stretch of it is I wish I had called it almost anything else.
Have you forgiven yourself and knowing that you did the best you could with the information and awareness you had back then? Are you compassionate to that past part of you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Who saw this coming with the bagels? But it's when you are somebody's job, when somebody's paycheck has your name on it, you do represent stuff. And I didn't really know that until after the show ended. So, I've forgiven myself, but there are some of these open-ended things and almost open wound relationships with it. And every time I get to have a conversation and put one of them to bed, I'm like, oh, right. I'm just a normal, my instinct of I'm just a normal guy trying to actually be more normal than I've ever been. Happy being more average, more than I ever, it used to be this constant, me and all my friends are just chasing jobs and trying to get comedy stuff. And I mean, high stakes stuff too, for anybody listening, if we want to get into it, I was on an improv group where one of my best friends got on SNL, and then a year later, my other best friend in the group got cast on The Office. High stakes things were happening in the world I was in. And then I managed to sell a TV show and get it on cable and bring all these friends with me and stuff. So it was weird and it was unique and it was this high stakes thing. And there's certainly mistakes I made along the way, but I'm just so happy. I'm much happy. my life is a lot less exciting than it used to be by most people's definition, but I'm also much happier than I used to be.
Yeah.
Some of these unresolved relationships out there, or some of these ones that feel like they sort of got away, where I'm like, oh, if we talked for straight up 10 minutes,
right,
we'd be laughing about some of the old stories, and you'd realize, like, this dude just lives in the suburbs now and mows his lawn. I can just talk to him again. You know, it has happened. And I don't want to, it's not like there was some big blowout, or that's the other weird thing. If there had been some big fight and there'd been the whole cast and crew got in some fight where I said a bunch of things and I have to apologize one by one. It's not even that. Just over and over again, I will talk to people and they'll go, oh, yeah, I was so bummed when the show ended. Or like, it was so stressful when we did it. And I guess I've kind of been avoiding you because you were the thing. And I equate you with it. And it was high stakes and it was stressful. It's not even a situation. I feel like it's coming out like I'm having these like mea culpa moments with everybody. It's really not. It's just eventually I cross paths with these people who keep arm's length and they're like, oh, you're just a balding man in his 40s. And we can joke around like we used to back in 2011, 2012 when it was all starting. So there's a lot of kind of open
remaking some of these relationships with just without all the stress, but also being careful not to create more stress with your oldest friends with the other podcast.
And I've also had to do a lot of work, and Barb has been really great about this too, of like, some of these relationships are also ones where it's like, and if they don't give you closure, that's fine too.
And it's nice that you can like have these very genuine, authentic interactions with these people, and then it gets sort of dispelled or it's not there anymore. And it would also be nice if you could maybe, if you didn't have to talk to every single person and you could like allow yourself to like let it go, whether or not they still think bullshit or not.
You obviously care so much about people and relationships. And one of the things I'm going to say that when we first met and, you know, talked to a number of people who have had some success in entertainment and, for lack of another definition, being loved for a living, sometimes people are totally happy knowing that a bunch of people they'll never meet think that they're awesome. But the difference that I've noticed with you over a period of years now is that you hold your relationships in highest regard, way over and above even your career and some of the other high stakes things. And you hold on to those relationships better than a lot of people as well. But not everyone feels that way. And I know that's a lot of compliments, but I'm going to give you one constructive criticism, and that's you can't control all these people. You can't control what they think. You can't control how valuable relationships are, or even their impression of you moving forward. So you're going to have to let that fake version of control go. This one's not on you. At some point, you can just relax and enjoy the people that enjoy
or
you.
Counterpoint, you can keep eating everything bagels all the fucking time and never get any fucking sleep. You know, right? And just be an ice cream garbage can.
That's an option.
Punish yourself. Just punish yourself relentlessly.
So
there's a lot of weird stuff wrapped up in all this ice cream eating.
There is. And unfortunately, we will have to end our time together.
Now that you've churned this all to the surface.
Yeah. So you get, but this is like, you get to now make maybe a slightly more aware, mindful, thoughtful decision of like, you know, you have like a little extra information and data, whether it's about like sleep or whether it's about like taking that moment before you get the bagel, whatever it is. And you can decide that you're going to do something with it, or you earn that fucking bagel or whatever. Like, we're just looking for that like conversation before you just do the thing. And I think that you've made like really good progress just in this past week.
For sure. And I thank you for it. And I've realized too, I one last note that I want to thank you for is I've realized there were moments this week where I said, I'm just going to go get the bagel. Damn it. Who cares? And then I'd go get the bagel and I'd feel good. There were other moments where I, for example, was like, oh, I should call my friend Nicole. I haven't talked to her in a really long time. And I didn't do the phone call. But one thing that I realized is those moments of like, take a beat and think about it, Jeff, makes me realize, oh, I bet I would get something similar out of that phone call that I get from the bagel. And there's one that I opt into and there's another that I don't. And that is a very controllable thing.
Yeah.
That one's very controllable. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Marlon, you've said some interesting things too, but Jeff.
I'm glad you said that. I needed to hear it. No.
Marlon, you also participated in a way that was good. But Jeff, good God, your advice. Thank you, my man.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank
That's
you
just who
both,
I am.
sincerely. Thank you both, sincerely.
Thank you, Chris, for opening
Yeah.
up. And I value this incredibly. I mean, I know it's on a podcast, but it's also totally real. From everything I know of you, this has been completely real. So,
Yeah, it has been. Anyway, thank you both so much.
Yeah, appreciate you showing up and being vulnerable. Yeah, that was really great.
Happy to be a part of it.
All right, well, have a good one. Talk to you later. All right, well, how did you feel about that conversation?
wow, I felt kind of honored that Chris sort of went into some of his more important issues there. I felt good, but I also felt like I wanted to be careful about sounding too like moralistic and high and mighty, like just giving advice. Because so many of the things that he was mentioning were real moments of reflection for me as well. So,
Yeah,
how about you?
I felt it's fun. I mean, he pointed it out a few times, I think. We're just like, I'm just here to talk about bagels. What the fuck is going on?
Of which I loved. Every time you brought it up, I had dopamine,
Right.
but
Exactly. But it's not the bagel, right? Like
No.
it's what the bagel represents, everything underneath the bagel. It's interesting that the bagel is an everything bagel because we did fucking talk about everything. It's connected to everything.
You're
so
being
that-
a real Freud about this, that
I
bagel's not just a
know.
bagel.
Yeah, the cigar is not just a cigar. Yeah. But it also felt like the sort of like how sometimes if you're being a therapist and a client you're starting to kind of like wrap things up a little bit and they're like, oh, one more thing. It's like the doorknob comment, like, oh fuck, it just keeps on coming.
I saw your face like, oh, okay. Well, do we need to meet? Does this need to be a whole podcast by itself?
Right.
And
I know we need to like start a series. So there's like the therapist part of me. There's like the podcaster part of me. That's just sort of like thinking about all this stuff. But like he's so lovely. He's so wonderful. He's so vulnerable. Like he really was just like, we're fucking doing this, and that's what we want to see. Yeah, exactly. There was usually like. Yada yada, this isn't really therapy, but whatever. But like usually like when you talk to a client for the first time and you're like, here, think about this or try that or use this tool, I feel like they either come back and they're like, I'm cured, or they're like, fuck this. Like, oh my God, this fucking week. Because we gave him a tool to be like, here's like a little more awareness about what the fuck is going on. And that can be incredibly overwhelming. So I'm just like, I'm interested in like how the next few weeks are going to unfold for him, because he's not coming back and he can slip right back into that cozy avoidance, or he can be like, continue to be curious and kind of mess with things, right?
I think he'll continue to be curious.
Yeah.
He seemed very authentic about his wanting things to get better. So, and I think that's going to help too if he talks to Barb, his therapist, about some of these basics, because what good is it to bring up all these, compulsive, I'll call them compulsive behaviors, not to diagnose, but, behaviors that we sort of as reactions instead of as planned out thoughts and actions. What good is it to just focus on that if you're never focusing on the basics?
Yeah, exactly. All right. That was a really great conversation. I had really fun. I had a lot of fun talking to him and to you. You're a great co-host. And I'd love to have you back for future podcasts. Before you go, though, I'm going to put you on the spot just one more time. Can you tell people where to find you?
Okay. I'm getting better, and
All right,
I'm
let's
learning
hear
from you. You can find me on Instagram and also TikTok at Mr. Marlon Morgan, also YouTube. And to make this the clunkiest social handle remembering possible. I think most importantly, and what I would be most proud of and be honored if people would join us on the podcast you were on just a couple of weeks ago, which is This Helps Podcast. You can check it out, thishelpspod.com. And we have excellent people like Mr. Therapy Jeff, Mr. at Therapy Jeff, on there talking about, their own, what helps them, similar to this podcast, what helps them already, daily rhythms that help them, and also how they help others. Because as you know, we have a lot of people doing great stuff in this world, and we want to focus on how they are actually making it better.
Yeah. Can you name a couple other guests that have been on the podcast?
Sure. We've had Chris. So
Right.
if you like Chris, we've had another comedian, Gary Goldman, one of my favorite comics.
love him.
He, oh my gosh, he was one of the sweetest human beings I've ever spent time with. We've had Dr. Anna Lemke, author of Dopamine Nation. She did a great job. And, coming up here, we're going to have Dr. Lisa Wong from Harvard, who talks a lot about the arts and therapy and bringing together, almost that social prescription model of doctors saying to their patients, actually, why don't you do some of this? Kind of what we did with Chris here today. Why don't you actually call some friends? Because some of the reasons that you're in here in my office aren't just physical, but some of your needs are going unmet that are mental health needs. So, yeah, I would say, and lots of great opportunities. We're going to have people call in and talk about what helps them, and similar to how you do it.
Yeah, that's all-star guests you're getting. Yeah, that's very impressive. Good job.
Thank you.
All right, I'll talk to you later, bud.
Okay. Bye, Jeff.